Morning everyone, welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma and this is our daily editorial analysis. How are you guys today? Very good morning. Am I clearly visible and audible on YouTube as well as on our app? Good morning Ragini, Ganesh. Can you hear and see me clearly? Good morning Devesh. Good morning Neha. Am I clearly visible and audible? Good morning. Yes, clearly visible. I'm absolutely good, everyone. Thank you so much for asking. Now, let me show you a couple of things. 2nd of February, okay? Of course, since the budget came out yesterday in the afternoon, and there were no articles that were printed yesterday in the newspaper, and you know that I take yesterday's newspaper articles. I haven't taken anything on budget, okay? But the two articles that I've taken are very, very important, okay? So I'm very likely going to take an article. Just a minute. Yes. I'm very likely going to take an article on budget tomorrow, maybe, very likely. But otherwise, today we've got two very important articles. Why are they important? I'll tell you that later on because it has a lot of relevance with the past year paper. Okay. So before I tell you that, just know that both the articles that I've taken today are from the Hindu. That's we're going to discuss. But before that, if you're targeting CLAT 2023, we've got a new batch that we've launched recently, and I'll be teaching in that batch as well. So if 2023 CLAT, that is going to happen in December 22, if that is your target, make sure you enroll for this batch at the earliest. If you're targeting MHCT, ALET, SLAT, BLAT, JAMIA, these the entrance examinations apart from CLAT, because their course is a little different from CLAT's. We've got a special express course which will prepare you for these examinations. So you could enroll yourself for this batch as well. This is batch 2. Batch 1 is already full. And if you're targeting CLAT 22, then we've got our first crash course that we've launched. So you could enroll yourself for this crash course as well. And in the end, if you're targeting only and only legal affairs and current events, that's what you wish to study, and you don't want to study other subjects, but only and only legal affairs and current events, then our batch 2 for a booster course on legal affairs and current events has been launched, where Nivedita ma'am and Abhimanyu sir will be teaching you legal affairs and current events. So enroll कर लो इस बैच के लिए अगर ये दोनों सब्जेक्ट आपको पढ़ने हैं तो जल्दी से. Yes, makes sense everyone. Okay, good morning everyone. Today's paper is lengthy. It has to be. It has to be Sarvani because of the budget. ठीक है. Also देखो बहुत सारा ना chaos होगा आपके mind में कि मैम इतनी सारी चीजें हैं बजट में. What do I do? What do I leave? तो वो भी मैं address करूंगी, but वो मैं कल address करूंगी when I take an article from the budget. Because see, you don't have to be a master of the entire budget, but nonetheless I can help you with a couple of things there. Okay, so yes, here we go. What are we going to do in the class? We'll take a quote of the day. We'll revise 3 questions from yesterday's class, vocabulary, through one-word substitution questions. We'll take up 2 articles. Both are from the Hindu, and we'll do a detailed discussion on them. We'll take out the vocabulary, phrasal verbs, idioms from these 2 articles. Memorize them, and in the end, you're going to tell me the tone of the author. और आज मेरे पास आपके लिए एक सरप्राइज है, ठीक है? बहुत बहुत डिमांड हो रही थी, मैंने फाइनली कुछ प्लान किया है आज कल और परसों के लिए. I'll tell you what that is. So in the end, you're going to tell me the tone of the author. Plus, you can write down the summary of each article under my video in the comment section. If there's anything else that you would want to communicate to me, comment under my video in the comment section. And in the end, we'll look at today's newspaper and we'll see what's important in today's newspapers, Hindu and Indian Express. What do we need to study and what can we skip? So that's going to be our agenda of the day. Ma'am, अगर एक से ज़्यादा बैच में जाना चाहते हो तो जा सकते हैं क्या? बिल्कुल जा सकते हो, बिल्कुल जा सकते हो मोविस. यस, देखो लोगों ने आंसर कर दिया है, ठीक है. ऑलराइट, ओके, सो दैट्स गोइंग टू बी आवर एजेंडा ऑफ द डे. अब कोट कौन लेके आया, जल्दी से कोट बता दो मुझे, फिर हम आगे कंटिन्यू करते हैं. सरप्राइज भी बताऊंगी, आज के आर्टिकल का रेलेवेंस भी बताऊंगी. Do something today that your future self will be thankful for. Yes, absolutely. Let's do this. Let's try to do this. आज एक ऐसी चीज करते हैं कि फ्यूचर सेल्फ मुझे थैंक करेगा कि गुड माय चाइल्ड, गुड दैट यू डिड इट. So let's do something today. ठीक है, कुछ नया करते हैं जो एक्चुअली हमने अभी तक मिस किया था, जो अभी तक नहीं कर रहे थे, बट फ्यूचर सेल्फ हमें थैंक करेगा उस चीज के लिए. आई थिंक वी ऑल ऑफ अस कैन डू दैट. आई एम गोइंग टू मेक श्योर दैट आई डू दिस. आई थिंक मोर देन एनीथिंग आई नीड टू एक्सरसाइज. ठीक है, सो I've done the quote of the day. Good morning everyone who's joined me in the app as well. चलिए अब स्टार्ट करते हैं with our revision. Okay, so the first word, who's going to answer this quickly? An imagined state of society in which there is great suffering or injustice, typically one that is totalitarian or post-apocalyptic. Tingle, prescience, blindside, dystopia. What is it? Totalitarian क्या होता है? Total control अगर एक किसी के पास होता है, that's totalitarian. Apocalyptic is basically apocalypse के बाद. Okay, what's the answer? Good, Tanishka, good that you know what you need to do. Yes, it is dystopia, the opposite of utopia, remember? It is dystopia, yes, it is dystopia. Yes, Devesh, it's a very good quote. Okay, so dystopia is our answer, correct. Let's move to the next one. Moral or cultural decline as characterized by excessive indulgence in pleasure or luxury. ये मैंने 2-3 बार समझाया था कल क्लास में. What is it? Misogynistic, prophecy, decadence, tether. What is it? कौन बताएगा आंसर? ब्लाइंड साइड रिया, मतलब कुछ नहीं दिखेगा, आपको नहीं दिख रहा उस साइड में कुछ भी. That's a blind side. बिल्कुल डिस्टोपिया like George Orwell's 1984. Exactly. It's decadence. Yes, it's decadence. Absolutely right. The answer is going to be C, decadence. Correct. Bilkul correct. Next one. The last one. A state of neglect or oblivion. Is it plateau, dictat, limbo, as to which? What is it? जल्दी से बता दो. Decadence. Correct है उसका आंसर. इसका क्या होगा? Plateau, dictat, limbo, as to which? That's good, Tanishka, actually. I'm glad. Assuage? No, that's limbo. If something is in limbo, you are neglecting it, you are not paying attention to it. It isn't assuage, it's limbo. Okay, it's limbo. Yes, it's C. Okay, the answer here is C. All right. Now, before I start with the vocabulary from today's articles, a lot of you had been struggling with critical reasoning. 3 days. Give me 3 days. Today, tomorrow, day after. I'm bringing a series of 3 classes where we are beginning with critical reasoning. I'll be covering up almost every topic in critical reasoning, but I'll first start with the basic fundamental of critical reasoning. I'm starting with assumptions and conclusions, and I'll be teaching you assumptions and conclusions for 3 consecutive days. Today, tomorrow, day after, on CLAT BYJU'S Exam Prep platform, this platform exactly. Cool. Today's classes timing is going to be 5 p.m. tomorrow 8 p.m. day after tomorrow 8 p.m. Make sure you don't miss out on today's class, because if you do that, tomorrow and day after, there's going to be a problem for you to understand what we did today. I'll be teaching you the fundamentals, we'll be solving questions, we'll be working on the whole concept of assumptions and conclusions. ठीक है, एक बार assumption conclusion खत्म करेंगे, फिर critical reasoning के next topic start करेंगे. Happy? Cool. So I'm going to see you at 5 again in the evening. Okay? So, great. Now let's start with our vocabulary of the class. अब vocabulary start करने से पहले मुझे, अब तनिष्का ये तो आपको मैनेज करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? लिम्बो को सेट असाइड बोल सकते हो, ठीक है? अच्छा, नाओमी ओसाका किस किस को याद है? How many of you remember on YouTube? Yes, on YouTube. Okay? अच्छा, अब मुझे बताओ नाओमी ओसाका किस किस को याद है? प्रीति, you'll have to manage that. Ali, you'll have to manage that. 12:30 भी होगी तनु. आज मेरी 3 classes है YouTube पे. 10, 12:30 on BBA platform and 8 and 5 on CLAT platform. ठीक है. Naomi, याद है ना Naomi Osaka made a lot of news, right, last year. Do you remember? Do you remember there was an article on Naomi Osaka that had appeared in ALS paper and SLAT's paper? Do you remember that? जिन लोगों को याद नहीं है, नाओमी ओसाका ने मेंटल हेल्थ को कोट करते हुए ये बोला था कि मैं मीडिया से बात नहीं करूंगी और उस वजह से उनको बहुत क्रिटिसिज्म रिसीव हुआ था. ठीक है. यस, एग्जैक्टली, वेरी गुड. यस अमीन, एग्जैक्टली. तो यहाँ अब देखो, क्योंकि नाओमी ओसाका ने कुछ ऐसा किया था जिसने पूरे स्पोर्ट्स फ्रेटर्निटी को हिला दिया था. उन पे आर्टिकल लास्ट ईयर 2 पेपर्स में आए थे, 2 पेपर्स में. ओके. और सिमिलरली राफेल नडाल ने भी अभी कुछ ऐसा किया जो 2 दिन पहले हुआ और उस पे एक आर्टिकल आया और आज वो आर्टिकल बहुत डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे बिकॉज आई थिंक इट कैन इजीली बी आस्क्ड एज अ रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन इन द एग्जामिनेशन. तो वो आर्टिकल डिस्कस करेंगे डिटेल में. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट एक और आर्टिकल डिस्कस करेंगे, वो हम देखते हैं क्या है. ओके, कूल एवरीवन, गेट दैट. एग्जामिनेशन के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से वो एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट आर्टिकल हो जाता है बिकॉज उस पर रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन बन सकते हैं. ओके, so let's go ahead with our vocabulary from today. First, lots of new words today. ध्यान देना सब लोग, मैं रिपीट नहीं करूंगी, एक एक वर्ड ध्यान से समझना. The first word, culmination. Culmination is peak, reaching the peak of something, the highest point of something, or possibly the end of something. That's culmination. When I say climactic, understand the word climactic very clearly. There are 2 words. One is climatic. Climatic relates to climate. And then we have climactic, which relates to climax. तो क्लाइमैक्स के इवेंट्स की बात करते हैं जब हम, या फिर किसी चीज के हाईएस्ट पॉइंट की बात करते हैं, दैट अचीवमेंट इज कल्मिनेशन ऑफ इट. So the deal marked the culmination of the years of negotiation. So finally, years of negotiation, finally they came to an end. They came to a climax. Finally the deal happened. That is culmination. Got that everyone? Zenith बोल सकते हो, apex बोल सकते हो, crest बोल सकते हो. बिल्कुल, yes, 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 yes. Okay. Acme बोल सकते हो. So many synonyms to it. Yes. Ragini, got this, बच्चे? Sorry, I forgot that. Got this? Okay. Next word. Arduous. Anything that requires a lot of effort. So, clearing or preparing for CLAT is an arduous process. No, rather, working on GK and vocabulary is an arduous process. But the results, the fruits are worth it. So, arduous is anything that involves a lot of hard work. It's tiring, it's tiresome, it is difficult, effort taking. That's arduous. The bad road made the journey difficult, effort taking, or strenuous or difficult. That's arduous. Okay, so that's vocabulary number 2. Burdensome बोल सकते हो आप. Yes. देखो, endeavor तो बच्चे पॉजिटिव सेंस में हो गया, ठीक है, तो हिमेंद्र वो मैं लिंक नहीं कर सकती. आई कांट लिंक दैट. Assiduous, yes. Laborious, yes. Herculean, yes. Absolutely. Epitome for culmination, बिल्कुल बोल सकते हो दिवजोत. Yes, related word है. Onerous, yes. मनमोहन सिंह. Yes, Manmohan Singh. Onerous. Okay. Arduous is effort taking. Cool. Then let's move to the next one. Saddle. Now, one saddle is that you use on animals where you put luggage on them or where you climb them, like the horse's saddle. है ना? वो different हो गया. A saddle in a different context can mean anything that actually puts a lot of difficult task on somebody's shoulders. Okay, burdensome is a saddle. So he's saddled with debts of $12 million. That is, there's a burden on his shoulders to repay that $12 million debt. That is saddle, which means putting burden on somebody, on their shoulders. Is not literally shoulders, no, contextually. That is saddle. Okay, so burdensome बोल सकते हो आप. Yes, correct. Horse's saddle is different. Yes, of course. But उससे आप link करके you can memorize this saddle. Let's move to the next word. Next word, curtailment, anything that is hindered, you restrict it or you delay the effect of something. Okay, that is curtailment. The law led to the curtailment of human rights. Human rights were hindered, human rights were disrupted, they were restricted because of this new law, like sedition or any other law. Yes, that's curtailment. Okay, got this? So many new words today. No, no, Arnab, no. I'm going to discuss the budget tomorrow. Okay, so meager नहीं होगा. No. Violation हो सकता है. ठीक है? Hamper ho sakta hai. Yes, hamper could be used. Okay. Now let's move to the next word. Last word of the slide. Churn. One churning is okay. The traditional method of taking out butter from that buttermilk is when you churn it. Okay, that movement is churning. All right. But contextually, if I use churn, it can also mean you disturbed. When you churn it, you disturb the whole liquid mixture, right? So when you're feeling disturbed, uneasy, that is churn. Her stomach was churning at the thought of the ordeal. That is, the stomach felt disturbed, you felt unpleasant. That is churning. Stomach disturbed here does not mean you have an upset stomach. It means you are disturbed mentally as well. Okay? At the thought of the ordeal. So, slide number 1, everyone, take a very quick screenshot. Culmination. Swarnavo. If I got your name correctly. Culmination is reaching the climax, the end, or the peak point of something. Okay? Anxious, nervous, disturbing, ये सब churning के लिए use कर सकते हो आप. Uncomfortable, ठीक है? Okay. Cacophonous, निशा related word नहीं बच्चे, cacophonous नहीं करेगा. But Rachel, surprisingly, ये सारे words ना एक positive sense में used है passage में. That's the whole purpose of learning vocabulary contextually. ये सारे words positive sense में used हैं. ठीक है? Swarnavo, I've explained culmination. Please pay attention. Okay, so I've explained it twice. I hope you've taken a screenshot of this page. Let's move to the next page. Page number 2. Oh, sorry. Here. Okay, so what is you are boastful about too much, speaking too much about, oh, I did this, I did that, this is my achievement, being very boastful or praiseworthy about your own achievements or somebody else's achievements, want. So I'm sure your parents are going to be wanting about you getting into an NLU. I'm sure they have all the right to do that, and it's absolutely justified if they do that. He was initially wanted by the West for his leadership of the country. That is boasted or praised excessively about his leadership of the country by the Western nations. So that's wanted. Excessive boastfulness or praiseworthiness about your own achievements or somebody else's is wanting. Okay? ठीक है? All right. Acclaim बोल सकते हो. Ostensible related word हो गया. ठीक है. Vanity बोल सकते हो, Rachel. Yes, you can say that. Overconfidence can also be one. Stirring can be churning. Yes, it can be. Correct, it can be. Next one, nirvana. Hindi word. Yes. So nirvana is reaching a point in your life where happiness, sadness, you are beyond that. And you are beyond the worldly pleasures, beyond anything where karma affects you. So it's a philosophy. Nirvana is a philosophy. Karma is a philosophy. And we always believe, specifically in the Hindu mythology, we believe that what you do will come back to you in this birth or the next birth. That's the basic ideology of karma in Hindu mythology. But when you attain a state of nirvana, you are beyond that karma. Karma आपका finish हो गया, आप उससे आगे हो, and you are beyond the worldly pleasures. You've reached the culmination of the highest degree of enlightenment. That is nirvana. Usually in Buddhism, so Gautam Buddha attained nirvana at Bodh Gaya, and that's why Bodh Gaya is so popular. Salvation, yes, related word. Ascetic is also a related word. So sadhana से nirvana मिल सकता है. ठीक है? Renunciation related word, बिल्कुल. मोक्ष की ओर अग्रसर होना, yes, बोल सकते हो. Okay. Yes. Yes, technically theology, Arnab, you're right. Theology is the correct word for that, not mythology. Balmy, not very hot, not very cold. But जैसे कोई temperature है, that's balmy. It's pleasant. It's not very hot, not Bangalore's weather is balmy all the time. It's not very hot, not very cold. But if my performance is balmy, I am neither very passive and not very aggressive. That is a balmy attitude, a balmy performance, a balmy teaching way. Okay. So I was in my hostel during the balmy days of summer, not very hot, not very cold. Pleasant, mediocre. Okay. Got that, everyone? Okay. All right. Moderate, mild, gentle, pleasantly warm. All of these are synonyms. Yes. Tranquil. Yes. Yes. Correct. Okay, Mumbai climate. Okay, the last one, exile. देखो ये मैंने ना बहुत बार क्लास में डिस्कस किया है. You should know this. If you've been reading the newspaper, you should certainly know this. So exile is when you are barred from your own nation. You are sent away because as a punishment you are in exile. So you could see the Ramayan story where Ramchandra ji was on exile, and then we've got so many political figures who have been living in exile in other countries, like Dalai Lama living in exile in our land, or maybe because we've given him shelter here away from Tibet, and then so many other examples, Taslima Nasreen and MF Hussain, and so many other people moving away from our country, living in exile in other places. And then we've taken the articles on so many political figures, right? And there are so many cases going on with them because of the exile. So, apne hi country se, living away from one's own country because you've been expelled from it because of a case maybe or an accusation on you. That's exile. Punitive reasons, exactly, Ashmita, correct. Correct. Deportation, related word. Yes. Vijay Mallya maybe. No, I didn't, Vapsi. I don't want to look at that. Okay. Got that, everyone? Okay. Now, since I've got approximately 116 people online, before I move to the next slide, let me quickly announce this again. Today, tomorrow, day after, 3 days consecutively, I'll be teaching you assumptions and conclusions. Today is the fundamental class where we'll be solving some questions and learning how to address assumptions and conclusions. Where is it going to be? This platform, exactly where you're watching me. Today's class is timing 5 p.m. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Day after tomorrow, 8 p.m. I guarantee you this. You come with me for 3 consecutive days. You most likely are not going to get assumptions and conclusions wrong ever in your life. You just need to be consistent and follow what I teach you. We'll have a class full of talking, full of argument. It's going to be a fun-filled class, but I'm sure you're going to understand assumptions and conclusions very clearly. It becomes very important because it forms the foundation of paragraph-based critical reasoning, and ALN gives you a lot of assumptions, conclusion questions. Make sure you don't miss out on these classes. Let's look at the last slide, everyone. Okay, so here we go. Yes, on YouTube. Exactly, on YouTube. On this channel, YouTube. BYJU'S Exam Prep CLAT. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do that right away. Otherwise, you'll be missing out on the changes in the timing if at all that happens. Next word, uncanny. Uncanny is mysterious. We say, oh, you have an uncanny resemblance with your grandma, maybe. You look like a grandma. It's mysterious because you should have looked like your father or your mother. So it's uncanny. Uncanny situation. It's a mysterious situation. Uncanny feeling. I feel weird, but what's the reason? I don't know. But it just does not feel right. Uncanny is mysterious, which actually disturbs you a little. That's uncanny. Okay? So, an uncanny feeling that she was being watched troubled her. She felt that somebody is following her. It's an uncanny feeling. Uncanny, it's actually scary. Okay? Next one. In the offing. In the offing, about to happen soon. Okay? That is in the offing. There are several initiatives in the offing. They are about to happen soon. So, about the budget, we can easily relate it to in the offing. Got it, everyone? Astonishing हो सकता है, abnormal हो सकता है, uncanny synonym. Mysterious, yes. Okay? Exodus को exile नहीं निष्ठा. Exodus आप अपनी willingness की वजह से भी कर सकते हो. Exile में you're forced to do it. That's the only difference, Nishta, between exodus and exile. Also, exodus will not be for one person. Exile has to be for one person. Exodus is for a lot of people leaving a place. Okay? Lot of people. That's exodus. Uncanny certainly is staggering. Yes, you're absolutely right. No, Ganesh, it's not going to be on the app. It's going to be only on YouTube. Okay? Ban to come to our own country. Yes, that's exile. Okay. The next word, rarefied. Okay, so rare, say rarefied banana. So basically anything that's actually not frequently seen or esoteric or distant from ordinary people and their lives. That's rarefied. He went to the US for a rarefied scholarly pursuits, which usually ordinary people do not do, and that's why it's rarefied. So rare, say yaad karna, rarefied. Okay. And last one, trail blazing. Okay, any questions, anyone? Uncanny can be implicit. No, it cannot be. Mass departure of people is exodus, exactly. Miraculous can be uncanny, it could be, okay. Is there any difference between emigrant and immigrant? Yes, it is. Okay, now the last one, trailblazing. Trailblazing is okay, new ideas, new methods, something that people haven't seen before, trailblazing. The journalist, businesswomen, and authors spoke about a trailblazing career, a career that was new, innovative, and and excellent as well. That's trailblazing. Last slide, everyone, take a screenshot quickly so that I can move to the next article. Different or rarefied? Yes. Good morning, Uday. All right. So here we go with the first article. I'll repeat. जैसे लास्ट ईयर 2 papers में नाओमी ओसाका पे आर्टिकल्स आए थे, they were very important. This year the article on Rafael Nadal is going to be very important, but before that, let's understand about Air India a little. Okay, I'll give you a little brief about that so that understanding this article becomes a cakewalk for you. So Tata Group was the one bringing Air India into existence, and the government took over it. And then for many years, the government had run it, but it was running into tremendous losses. The government tried to incentivize things, they tried to monetize things, but it never came into profits. And then came into the existence the budget flights. Budget flights like Indigo and SpiceJet. SpiceJet no more, but Indigo and SpiceJet, they came into existence. What happened with the budget airlines? The difference between a budget airline and a full-fledged running flag carrier, state-owned one, is that in a budget airline, there is less of space between leg space, and everything you need to pay extra for. There's no food included, and sometimes seats are not reclining. If you want a recliner seat, then you'll have to pay extra, and multiple other things. So there are cheap tickets, but there are lesser services. When you go to other airlines like Vistara, for that matter of fact, or Air India for that matter of fact, or maybe Kingfisher, which used to be operating at that moment, they would give you a lot of services with expensive tickets. These budget airlines, they don't even have business class. But then these full-fledged airlines like Air India and Vistara, they would give you budget business class seats as well. So their services are different. Obviously, now maximum people in our country would choose, maximum of us would choose the budget airlines. With the emergence of budget airlines, Air India was hit even worse, and it was never been able to bounce back into the business. So finally, the auctioning happened and Tata Group took over Air India. Now, Tata Group already has been into the business for quite a while, the business of airlines. How? Vistara. They co-own it along with Singapore Airlines. Tata co-owns it in India along with, Air Asia. They co-own it along with Singapore Airlines, and Vistara, they own it individually. So they already have two fundings into two airlines, Vistara, individual ownership, and Air Asia with Singapore Airlines, co-ownership. And then they buy Air India as well. So now the point is that should they be merging all three of them? Should they be operating three of them individually? Should Air India be merged with Vistara or Air Asia? Air Asia is a budget airline. Or should they be functioning individually? Because Air India is in massive losses. Massive, massive losses. So that's the whole idea. After finally, when Tata Group has taken over Air India, what should they do? Let's understand this article. I hope the whole background is clear to everybody. Okay? Yes. In 1953, it got nationalized. Exactly. All right. So here we go. Let's understand the article. Notes for this article? No, not important. The Tata Group's consummation of its acquisition of Air India last week, so finally, we knew it has acquired, but the process culminated actually last week, marks both the culmination of airline's return to its original founders, because Tata Group were its original founders and it got back to Tata before the nationalization happened. And after an almost 7-decade hiatus, that is 70, this 7-decade break that had happened, as well as the start of an arduous long-haul flight for the loss-making. It's been a loss-making unit, formerly state-owned flag carrier, which is Air India. State-owned, but now completely loss-making, getting back to Tata Group. The Tata's enthusiasm for winning back what was once country's iconic airline brand. It started off, our country had nothing except Air India at a point. Most of the people would fly through Air India. They would give you meals and everything. And I personally, when I talk about myself, I've been a very frequent flyer since the COVID time. And very, very frequent. I would take flights almost every month. And throughout that, Air India has been only once when I had to travel abroad. Only once. Okay, so you could see what people's preference would be. They wouldn't take Air India because of the services they would offer. So, the Tata's enthusiasm for winning back what was once the country's iconic airline brand, notwithstanding, the skies in which the industry operates have changed considerably. I've told you how the skies have changed. That people have moved from these airlines to budget airlines. The services have exponentially increased. Yes, and there's tough competition with the rates of flights as well. A look at the market share data from the domestic air passenger segment clearly shows, not about international, let's talk about the domestic flights. The data shows that the budget or low cost flights now hold a dominant position, of course. Why would I take Vistara or maybe Air India when I've got cheaper flights in Indigo or Go Air? Why wouldn't I do that? Commanding about, और देखो simple है, मुझे 1 hour की flight में fly करना है. Why would I care about the luxury or the food? I would try to find a flight that's cheaper. So the whole market changed in these 7 decades, from the culmination, the beginning to the culmination of or the downfall of Air India. So about 4/5 of the market is actually now taken up by the budget or low cost flights. And the remaining expensive ones like Air India or Vistara, they are kept aside. Okay, budget airline समझ में आया आपको? Nandini, did you understand what is budget airline? Exactly, Purva. So I've been a flyer for Vistara as well, and I can vouch for that. Their service is excellent. It's beautiful. I haven't seen such a service anywhere. So the Tata Group's full service venture, Vistara, not budget, full service, everything, food, luxury, everything is there. Vistara, with no less than a partner in Singapore Airlines on board, has struggled to establish a foothold with Air India's addition. The Tatas find themselves saddled with the bulk of their combined domestic market share of 23%, combined market share of 23% being in the less in demand full service segment. So, देखो, full service segment की जो airlines है उसमें 23% Vistara own करता है. But the point is Vistara जो उन्होंने सिंगापुर एयरलाइंस के साथ में लॉन्च किया था, वो जो फुल सर्विस सेगमेंट है अपने आप में ही एक बहुत कम मार्केट शेयर होल्ड करता है. अब उसका भी अगर 23% Vistara own करता है, it's a fraction in the whole market. Nor is the group's newly combined share from the low cost segment comprising Air Asia's 5.9% and the fractional share with Air India's Air India Express. Air India का Express भी है, वो भी बहुत ही कम फ्रैक्शन लेके आया, और ये सब कुछ मिला के भी टाटा का शेयर बहुत कम है कंप्लीट मार्केट में. Significant enough to the moment to give it scale in a high volume business. That the group is said to be considering consolidating Air India's domestic low-cost services along with Air Asia's operation. Makes sense. They are considering it because Air Asia में भी उनके shares हैं, right? So Air Asia के shares में जो उनके हैं, उसको वो combine कर ले अगर Air India की low cost जो express airlines है, it makes more sense for them to run the airlines. And it is clear that Tata bosses realize the need to optimize the varied aviation sources that are now in Group's fold as to enhance viability. They've got multiple things, money in multiple airlines. Why don't we mix them? Right? At least the budget ones. Makes sense for them. On the international front too, Air Asia faces multiple challenges. So that was about domestic market. What about the international market? Not the least of which is the government's current pandemic-related curbs on commercial international flights. Now, when the international flights are almost zero, and whichever are flying, they're flying through the air transport bubbles. So we've got very, very few people flying outside and coming into our country. And we don't know how long it's going to stay that way. Thus, the entire business of the international airline is hard hit with the pandemic. So, the Tatas, though, could use the current curtailment of overseas services as an opportunity to undertake a long overdue overhaul of Air India's flight experience. The author says that since there is a ban, there is a curtailment in the flying of people outside and coming back to India in the international flights, this whole limbo, this whole gap can be used by Tata Group to actually change the whole experience Air India would give to its customers. When I fly, I look for an experience. I look for good staff. I look for courteous staff. I look for good food. I look for betterment of flights, not the old ones that make a lot of noise while I land. If this gap of no international flights going out and coming back in, Tata can use this gap to improve on the services provided by Air India and make a benchmark here. So also with Vistara now operating to a few select overseas destinations, the Tata will need to decide if they would want a younger in-house competitor. देखो अब विस्तारा के भी इंटरनेशनल फ्लाइट्स चालू हो गए हैं, तो क्या टाटा का विस्तारा और टाटा का एयर इंडिया कंपटीशन करेगा या दोनों को मर्ज करना है? बिकॉज है तो दोनों एक ही बिजनेस में. So for the Tata Group, the choice is going forward will need to be strategic. They need to think how to go forward. With the domestic market set to see more churn with at least one new budget airline set to enter, the other rivals struggling for capital, the group needs to decide whether it wants to add capacity to budget offerings or stay predominantly full service carrier at the time when more lucrative business class travelers have been hit. So the point is, more and more airlines are coming into the competition. The existing ones want more funding, they are ready to get more funding, they are increasing their capital. In this case, Tata needs to be carefully thinking if they still want to operate Air India as it is, or they want to change it, or they want to merge it with Vistara, or maybe the low-cost airlines. And with the aviation fuel costing, that's another challenge because that's not cheap and it's consecutively increasing. It's soaring. The fuel prices, Air India will need to tap into all of the Tata Group's wanted managerial expertise. जितना भी managerial expertise है, सबको दिमाग लगा के कुछ करना पड़ेगा if it is to turn into a successful buy. Because आपने impulsively खरीदा, but आप उसका करने क्या वाले हो? That's the whole idea. Okay. All right. Ma'am, they can't actually compete. Air India's fleet is long range. That's right, Kartike. But the whole point is there are multiple things as well they need to deal with, along with fuel cost, along with quality of services, because the quality had been actually really bad. Okay, what's our tone here? Their CEO said they will probably merge low-tier aircraft with Vistara. Makes sense, they could do that. Yes. Yes, exactly. And then they can't lay off as well because of the contract they've had. Yes. टोन ऑफ द ऑथर. लास्ट पैरा समझ में नहीं आया. लास्ट पैराग्राफ में इंजिस्ट ये बोल रहा ऑथर कि जितने भी मैनेजर्स हैं टाटा ग्रुप के, अब उनको बहुत ध्यान से एक डिसीजन लेना पड़ेगा कि आप करना क्या चाहते हो अब इस एयरलाइन का जो आपने खरीद लिया है. मर्ज करते हो या कंपटीशन में रखते हो या ओवरहॉल करते हो, कंप्लीट चेंज करते हो, बेटरमेंट लेके आते हो, क्या प्लानिंग है सोच समझ के करो. एनालिटिकल. यस, इट्स एनालिटिकल. एनालिटिकल इसलिए है बट ओनर तो एक ही है नाली. अब ओनर तो एक ही हो गया ना, तो मर्ज तो कर ही सकते हैं. राइट? इट्स एनालिटिकल, वो एनालाइज कर रहे हैं कि प्रॉब्लम्स क्या क्या है, किस किस से डील करना पड़ सकता है एयर इंडिया को। सजेशन सिर्फ इतना है कि मैनेजर बहुत ध्यान से डिसीजन ले, बट ऑथर ने कोई सजेशन दिया नहीं कि आप ये कर सकते हो या ये कर सकते हो। इट्स एनालिटिकल कंप्लीटली। ओके, नाउ लेट्स कम टू द नेक्स्ट आर्टिकल, सुप्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट। Yes, they would be in English, Bhavna. Do you understand these classes? If you do, it's going to be in a similar manner, the critical reasoning ones. Okay, let's come to the second article, supremely important because of the last year papers. Naomi Osaka's articles had been appearing in 2 papers, and thus what Nadal does, that's important. Also, let's bask into the glory of Nadal. Let's celebrate his win. Okay, but the language is difficult here, and that's why this article has been taken. Give me a second, let me have some water, and then I'll continue with it. Okay, here we go. Analytical critical में क्या फर्क पड़ता है? Critical finds faults, analysis pros and cons both. Another one, another grand slam, and it's not for the first time that he's won one, but this victory needs to be celebrated because of multiple reasons. Why? Let's read that. In legendary sporting careers, there comes a moment which perfectly encapsulates the champion's relentless pursuit of transcend brilliance. मतलब क्या हुआ? मतलब ये हुआ that every sports person, if you are a good one, you come to a point. If you are a good one, remember, you come to a point where your all the efforts, your brilliance will be visible to everyone. For Sachin Tendulkar, it was reaching 100 international hundreds. That's his culmination. That's his zenith that he reached. That was a point in his career. Similarly, for Kapil Dev, reaching a point of getting 432 test match wickets to become the then highest wicket taker. So beating any kind of uh, old records is an achievement, but doing it while you are struggling with something is that proves your mettle. It spells consistency across decades. You take many, many years to reach there. You can't do this overnight. Sachin did not do it overnight. Kapil Dev did not do it overnight. Nadal did not do it overnight as well. So it needs consistency. It needs many, many years of hard work and geographies as well. Geographies, maybe you play here once and then play to some other country and then some other country. Multiple places में खेलना. एक country में खेल के you can't make records, world records, of course. So it needs pan world, pan geography coverage. On a balmy Sunday evening in Melbourne, it was the return of Rafael Nadal to attain similar nirvana. Nirvana. Okay, I've reached that point. That's what he did. He reached nirvana with a record of 21st men's singles Grand Slam title, passing Roger Federer and Djokovic. Two brilliant players as well. And आपको पता है, मैं इन दोनों पे भी बहुत articles लेती हूँ. But he left them behind and he proved his mettle in an all-time tally. The 35-year-old, who is Nadal, is only the fourth man in the history to win all 4 majors at least twice. All 4 major titles, he's won them at least twice. Worth celebrating because he was not in a position, he was injured, he was on a break, and when he came back, his game did not go really well. But we could see his comeback, and that comeback makes it noteworthy. Okay? Abhinav? Okay? Yes. चलो अभिनव इस आर्टिकल के बाद बताती हूँ उसकी स्टोरी में मैं आपको. ओके? No, Shreya, not needed. Just read it very carefully. I'm very hopeful this can be asked in the examination. For much of the second half of 2021, he was in exile. Exile, quiet, not doing anything, and a chronic foot injury had him considering retirement. So he said, okay, possibly it's time for me to retire without making a mark. In Australia, he was physically subprime and in the final against Daniel Medvedev, who is a 6 feet 6 inch albatross. They call him an albatross, who barely 5 months ago fell Djokovic at the 2021 US Open. So Medvedev ने 5 महीने पहले Djokovic को हराया, ठीक है? और इस मैच में भी ऐसा लग रहा था that injured Nadal would not be able to win. So He was on the cusp of defeat. Who he? Nadal was on the cusp of defeat. Cusp as in at the border. He was almost losing the match, down 2 sets and 3 break points. But what came to the fore was Nadal's greatest trait. What is he known for? His uncanny ability to thrive when barely allowed to live. Difficult है survive करना. He actually thrived in it. He grew in it. जहाँ survival भी difficult हो रहा था, he grew tremendously well in it. That's what he's known for. Culminating in what he called his greatest comeback and the most unexpected achievement of his already glittering career. He's one of the best we know in the world. And his comeback was unexpected, yet another feather in the hat that he has. The previous decade in Australia has been one of the disappointment for the Spaniard, the Spanish, that is Nadal, having lost 4 finals, including 2 form-winning positions. अब सोचो एक winning position पे होके you lose matches. It's actually very demeaning, rather not demeaning. It's very heartbreaking for a person of his stature. A repeat seemed in the offing when deep in the 5th set he failed to serve out the match. So we could see that he was losing the match. He was losing. But such was the rarefied height he reached that he quickly left a bad service game behind, relaxed into the moment, and earned another opportunity for a shot at history that he would not miss. And he made history here. There was a history maker among women too. So here ends about Nadal. Then let's come to the women. There's another history maker in women too, as the classy Ashley Barty, a player with indigenous Australian heritage. So हमने निडाल की बात करी और जब भी हम किसी फर्स्ट पर्सन की बात करते हैं हम उनकी ओरिजिन की बात करते हैं उनकी कंट्री की बात करते हैं. So here she is an indigenous Australian. She has the heritage of that. She won her maiden major on home soil, a first for the Australia since 1978. 1978 के बाद she was the first one to win a maiden major inside her own country, Australia. The third overall after the 2019 French Open and 2021 Wimbledon. Adept on grass, that is very good playing on grass and clay. She also did really well along with the acrylic court, adding some aggression while keeping her finesse and variety intact. That's what she's known for. Even in the crowded marketplace that the global tennis is. Why do we say global tennis is a crowded marketplace? Because we've got a lot of players and we've got a lot of good players in tennis, right? Also, there comes in news about Sania Mirza retiring from it. But nonetheless, we've got brilliant tennis players throughout the world and it's crowded. There's a lot of people who are playing tennis good. So there are no styles or personas quite like Nadal's and Bharti's. यार इतने players हैं ना फिर भी जो Nadal का style है और जो Bharti का style है, nobody can match that. It was apt that the event ended with rousing victories for the duo, despite the fog of Djokovic's deportation saga. सबको पता है मैंने आर्टिकल लिया था वैक्सीनेशन नहीं लगवाने के लिए क्या हुआ था, right? I told you drugs नहीं लेने के लिए he was deported for the first time in the history. Otherwise, people would have been deported for taking drugs. So Djokovic's deportation saga that had settled pre-tournament. For Indians, Sania Mirza's announcement for retirement at the end of the season will bring a tinge of sadness, of course. But the year ahead will be another opportunity to relive and celebrate her stunning achievements and trailblazing legacy. So we could celebrate what she's done. Her legacy is trailblazing. Tone of the author. Yes, what's the tone? Cusp is not conflict, Anadi. Cusp is exactly a point of transition. जब आप एक state से दूसरे state में जाते हो. Cusp of adulthood, that means you're possibly 18, okay, or maybe 17. So you're at the point where transition will happen. That's a cusp. Okay? Any more questions? Certainly praiseworthy. Yes, Joseph, you're right, because he did not take vaccinations. Laudatory, praiseworthy. Any more questions, anyone? Praiseworthy, undoubtedly praiseworthy. Correct. All synonyms of praiseworthy. Certainly. All right, guys. Okay. 2 things. I'll repeat. 12:30. I'm taking a session on BBA platform on how to analyze your mocks. And 5. I'm taking my first class on assumptions and conclusions on our YouTube channel. Make sure you don't miss out on it. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to show you today's newspaper and tell you what is important that you need to be reading and what is that you can skip from Indian Express and So let me show you the newspapers in my background. BBA प्लेटफॉर्म क्या है? YouTube में सर्च करो BBA बायजूस एग्जाम प्रेप। मैं कहा BBA प्लेटफॉर्म क्या है? Let me show you papers. Alrighty, here we go. All the memes have started after the budgeting. Don't worry. Okay, here we go. Right. I will do that, Shruti. I'll do that today. Ma'am, you will not the legislature powers. No, Ragini. It was an easy article, but that's why I did not take it. Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's look at the paper. Big on hopes, short on ideas. Yes. Read this because it's an analysis of the entire budget. Okay. Long, but read this. For the first time in a lot of months, I've seen such a long article on the left-hand side. A takeaway is a good infrastructure push. Read this. A bold effort at public investment-led growth. Focus on accelerating growth with stability. Yes. Read this. A betrayal of the social sector when it needs help. Exactly. Very important. Please read this. Let's come to text and context. Here we are. The strategy behind North Korea's missile test, Kim. The FTA talks between India and the UK, Kim. मनरेगा ये छोड़ दो आप, ठीक है? ये बिल्कुल पढ़ना. Absolutely. If you don't have it, I'll share it in the Telegram group. Do you want me to share it? बिल्कुल पढ़ना है इसको आपको, ठीक है? इस पे आर्टिकल बन सकता है certainly. Do you want me to share it in the Telegram group? Ansham, I'm not a lawyer. Today, 12:30 on BBA, 5 p.m. assumption conclusions on this channel. Okay? Yeah. Okay. I'll share this. Okay. All right. Let's look at. I'll share it. Let's look at Indian Express. Measured steps and leap to spend. Please read this. Sorry. What about the bottom half of Indian households? Yes, important. Budget missed healthcare opportunity. Yes, important. A launch pad for India's decade of growth. Important. The right voices are missing from the budget. Important. Budget reveals a new fiscal situation. Important. Nadal steals. That's all. सब कुछ important है बच्चे. आज न्यूज़पेपर बहुत ध्यान से पढ़ना. बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस बन सकते हैं इसमें से. कल मैं 2 आर्टिकल लूंगी तो आपको थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेनेशन भी दे दूंगी, ठीक है? Zoom मीटिंग थोड़े टाइम में होगी, ओके? Video team, can you please share the Telegram group's link? Video team, can you please share the Telegram group's link quickly? I've asked the video team. It is in the description. Okay, Neha says it's in the description. Okay. Oh yes. It's in the description. Please join it through the description, okay? Ending the class, everyone. I'll see you at 12:30 on BB and 5 p.m. again with assumption conclusions. Have a very good day and God bless all of you.